Up to 100 civilians, including women and children, were killed by a U.S. raid in the Afghan city of Farah on Tuesday. The raid was carried out in response to an attack on Afghan security forces by the Taliban. The U.S. targeted civilian homes, claiming Taliban fighters were using them as shelter. Initial Pentagon reports leaked to the media suggested civilians were killed by the Taliban, which then claimed the deaths were caused by American bombs. But U.S. officials later acknowledged that at least some of the casualties occurred during their airstrikes, I should say. And Laurie Harfness spoke to New Yorkers who say they are dissatisfied with the way the news was told.
In Afghanistan, an insurgent attack on a police checkpoint resulted in 6 deaths. As a countermeasure, the U.S. conducted an air raid, which resulted in over 100 civilian deaths. Perhaps the most surprising aspect of the story is that it wasn't a news story. So today the question is, how do you think the media chooses what to cover and what not to cover? Let's talk about that. Did you know that the U.S. just conducted an air raid in Afghanistan that resulted in over 100 civilian deaths?
No, I did not.
Did you know that the U.S. just conducted an air raid in Afghanistan that killed over 100 civilians?
No, I didn't know that.
Why do you think you didn't know that?
Because nobody told me.
Not much of the media reported on it. Does that bother you?
Oh, of course it bothers me. I think the media is controlled by people who want us to know what they want us to know. I think the internet is a great thing for news now that we have more of an availability for information at our own fingertips as opposed to watching what the TV says. Well, now the media is also controlling internet, so they have their own websites and they also leak their own information. So I think that there's almost no telling what we should know that we don't know.
How do you think the media goes about choosing what they cover and what they don't?
Well, obviously, a lot has to do with who's the sponsors of the news program.
I think it's just whatever's popular at that time, that's what they use in the media.
Do you think that is a good way to do reporting?
No.
We watch the news and we read the papers. That's about as informed as you can be. You can look at the net, but that's not necessarily any better either. So
how do you get a complete story?
You don't.
I don't know. People look into things too deeply. They think whatever they hear first, and that's it. You know, that's all they need. That's the truth.
There's no unbiased news anymore.
Do you think that's a new phenomenon? You think it used to be more pure, or do you think that now, as a viewing audience, we're just a little bit more savvy as to how it works?
Oh, I don't think the audience is any more savvy at all. I think they're less savvy. They're depending on everything from the computer and who puts the stuff on the computer. A sad thing is the news is going to be degenerating more and more, and within 5 years, less than 5 years, we won't even recognize it.
For thousands of years, people have tried to win battles in Afghanistan, never succeeded.
So you think that this story was buried because it's just going to hinder a cause that's already really hard?
No, I don't think the story's been buried. I sometimes fear this hasn't been reported correctly.
So how do you figure out what's true and what's not?
Do your own research and have a basis for what you're talking about also. So try to learn as much as you can and find out sources that will give you good information on a continual basis. And watch them all if you have to, because everybody's going to skew their own way and take from it what you will.
Whatever you believe to be the reason why the media chose not to cover the U.S. air raid in Afghanistan that resulted in many civilian deaths, the bottom line is you should seek out as many media outlets as possible if you truly want an unbiased, complete story.